Hello, everyone. Welcome to Startup Jungle. I'm your host, Los Silva, and with me today I have Zack Onisko. Zack, did I say your name right?
Pretty close. Onisko.
Okay. Well, thanks for being on today. Zack is the Chief Growth Officer at Creative Market. So, before we go any further, Zack, what exactly is Creative Market?
So Creative Market is a marketplace for digital design assets. So we have everything from icons to fonts to WordPress themes. We just added a photos category about 3 weeks ago. Next on our roadmap is 3D files. What we want to be, eventually the big vision is to become like the Amazon of digital assets.
Okay. And what is the difference, I guess, from Creative Market and, let's say, a Gumroad?
I'm sorry.
The difference between, let's say, a Creative Market and a Gumroad, where
A
you can,
Gumroad. Yeah,
yeah,
so we are a marketplace. So we are basically the infrastructure and the market for designers and creators to upload their wares, and for designers and creators to download those assets
yeah,
from one. Everything's under one roof. It's not fragmented across the internet.
yeah, that's a great idea because that problem does exist, but there's like 10, 15 different sites you have to go to essentially get everything that Creative Market offers, right?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of how it's historically been. If you're looking for a font, you're going to go browse multiple font shops. You're going to go to iStock Photo to find your stock photos. So there's all these fragmented sites, and so what we want to be is the solution to the blank canvas when you're starting any new creative project. Um, we just want to be the first place you go to gather all the assets you may need to get that project started.
Cool, got it. So I wanted to talk a little bit about content marketing because I was reading your blog and I noticed that it's a heavy part of how you guys are trying to achieve growth through content market. So can you elaborate a little bit about exactly what you guys are doing and some strategies?
Yeah, I mean, we launched the site about a year and a half ago, and we kind of diversified our marketing channels and did some experiments, across the board. And where we saw a hit was with content. Um, and that content strategy was a play on our SEO strategy. Really, we spent some time working on the technical side of our SEO, making sure that our pages were as easily crawlable as possible by the Google bots. And then the other side of the SEO strategy is to build as many inbound links from reputable domains as possible. Um, and so when we launched, we basically had zero inbound links, or very few. And so the content strategy was really around building those links back to the site. So um, early on, we did a little bit of content building in house. I ended up hiring a full-time content person early last year, and she ran the show for a good 3 to 6 months before we decided to really double down on content when we started to see some growth from those channels, and that's when we looked to Scripted. And Scripted is a marketplace of copywriters, and you can find the writer of your liking. We've found a great pool of folks who understand web design and graphic design and are really good writers and know our space. And so we can favorite those people and come back to them later. We also throw new jobs up there, and we meet new folks all the time who are great writers. And it's kind of a try before you buy. If you don't like the writing, you can reject it if it's off the mark. So that's really nice. You can also, if you don't have the ideas for the post that you want written, you can also have the community um, come up with ideas for posts by kind of reviewing the history, the archive of the blog, and they'll kind of understand like what we're all about.
That's
Um,
that's pretty awesome.
so it's been great. It's been totally scalable. you pay per post, and yeah, so it worked really great. So we started off doing 2 to 3 blog posts a week, and now we're doing we're actually in between content marketing managers right now. We just hired um, uh, a guy, Josh Johnson from Envato, who's really great and has been in the design space for many years. So we're really excited to have him on board. But yeah, right now we're writing about 5 posts a week. We want to probably get that up to 10. But we're also producing content for all our social channels, and we're building a strategy around how that content is shared and distributed and early on seeded.
Yeah. So what is your strategy? Let's go social for a little bit with that.
Yeah,
So because we do a little bit similar. We're not creating as much content, and it's actually something that I've been considering, but I'm kind of bottlenecked in the fact that I do the majority of the content writing. I do the
yeah,
podcast. I also create the courses. So at one point, you just don't have time in the day. You know what I mean? So scripted sounds like something that really kind of can help with that.
yeah.
But are you guys doing when you're doing your content? Is it a separate content marketing strategy essentially that you have for social, or do you guys have, let's say, like a native ad strategy where you're paying to get some engagement and then that gets shared and things like that?
So we stay pretty far away from the like ads. We just read a lot of bad press about the types of audience you build by paying for those clicks. We've done some different strategies around building our audiences on our social channels.
Hmm.
But as far as the content goes, we approach it in a very similar way. We promote our blog posts across our social channels. We also do a lot of co-promoting of our shops and really cool products that are in our marketplace. But also we diversify the types of posts, and we throw up interesting links from the design community, and we don't necessarily all our posts have to link back to our site. We mix it up, but we do try to have a volume play. So we're trying to aim for anywhere between 10 to 20 posts, unique posts per channel. So Facebook, Twitter, um, Google Plus is, I don't think, unique right now. I think we're copying some content, and then Pinterest is actually a huge channel for us.
Yeah, I would assume with all the visuals and things like that, maybe even Twitter.
Yeah, and that's another thing that we did early on, is we wanted to make sure that each of our blog posts contained a really beautiful header graphic, and we see a lot of our blog posts actually get shared on Pinterest, and we get a lot of link back from that.
Yeah.
So, but the main name of the game with the link back strategy around social is, Google is looking for relevant, original, timely content from reputable domains, and the big social sites have both of the most reputable domains, and they also have the volume play. So, they can send us a lot of traffic back, and Google looks that as a primary signal that they should give us some love on the search pages.
Yeah. What are you guys doing to basically measure that growth? And how do you, once you're seeing the
Yeah.
measurement scale, what are you using? Are you using also like Google Analytics? And how's the strategy working to consistently say, hey, we want to grow by 20, we're seeing growth, we want to grow by 20% monthly?
Yeah. So we use Mixpanel internally as our primary analytics tool. We also have GA as a backup, but we're primarily using Mixpanel to run segmented queries on, and we use GA quite a bit too, just to look at you know
Overall.
traffic. And I mean that's actually a great tool for. We'll do some end of the month reviews of all the posts that we posted, and what posts have you know gotten the most page views, because at the end of the day, at the end of that funnel, page views shows was that post viral, was it shared, all those other tracking events that you can kind of get lost in. Page views is the primary metric we care about, and we see patterns, right? So there's the obvious stuff, like the listicle stuff
Yeah.
does really well, really generalized, top 20 trending WordPress themes of 2014 will do really, really well. For our audience, we need to make sure that we don't drown them with that kind of content, and that we're splitting up, our posts with how-tos and with, community posts and, case studies of our shops who are, super successful selling with us, and so it's a mix, and we know that, and we're not going to do more than one of those, list type posts a week, but we generally will see those will give us the most traffic.
Yeah, it's hard not to want to do more.
Yeah,
They're so general, but they do so well. It's crazy because I mean, really, you can jump in any niche, any industry, and you just start
yeah,
doing listicles, and you are going to start gaining traffic.
yeah. I mean, early on, we started to do some. We try to be really savvy around like looking at Google Trends and trying to find some stuff to write about that was like hot at the moment, and doing some like keyword research stuff and trying to like be outsmart the content strategy, and at the end of the day, that stuff you'll see some flash in the pan like quick spikes, and then that does like Google Trend content stuff kind of just fiddles out. Where you do these general posts, they reach a wider audience,
They last
and
forever.
and they last forever. And you just see that traffic just coming in, throughout the entire year. So that's the kind of stuff you just want to keep making sure that it's like the record business. You want to have those hits,
Yeah.
and then you're going to produce some other content that's not going to be hits, but it all fits together in the catalog.
Yeah, exactly. The way you do your content, are you guys adding a lot of visual to it, being as creative market and visually it gets shared, and I'm sure maybe you can speak to some things that you guys are doing to kind of try to add virality and shares inside of the content that you're making?
Yeah, so I mean, we don't force the visual stuff in our blog, but it makes sense and it helps uh, sell the story. You know, every blog post has a header image, and that's the image that's going to be tied to the share posts, or if you search Google Images or what have you, that's the stuff that's gonna pop up. Um, but we're not too heavy-handed about making sure that all of our posts contain lots of images, or we don't have any like strict rules about length, because we see sometimes there's posts that are pretty short that catch wind, and sometimes it's the long, exhaustive posts that produce traffic as well. So it's hard to make rules for that kind of stuff. Um, but as far as the sharing stuff, now that's something that we spent a lot of time A/B testing quite a bit last year. We had share buttons that were off to the side that were more subtle. We tried some bigger buttons off to the side. We put share buttons at the bottom of the post where we thought people would scroll to the very bottom and then share. We did some like fixed share buttons, so like when you scroll, the buttons would always be there. And where we found the best position was right underneath the title, and we could see that people were actually sharing before they had a chance to actually read the post. So they were like literally reading the title, sharing it, and then reading the post.
Nice.
So that was kind of we stumbled across that one, but that's worked pretty well for us. We haven't really touched that, in a few months.
Yeah, yeah.
And then we do some other stuff with just we've written like a dozen different variations for like some default Twitter copy that we plug into the Twitter modal.
Hmm.
So when people tweet something out, it has some cool copy, and then if you're looking at your Twitter stream or Creative Market, it's not going to be the same like generic post. It looks like it's being mixed up, and of course people will back that out and put their custom message in there if they want. But that was a little trick we did to kind of make sure that it wasn't looking too packaged and stale.
Yeah.
Um,
Have you guys tried Twitter cards?
yeah, we have Twitter cards.
Yeah, I would assume those are pretty good at least on a sharing basis around Twitter.
Yeah, we did see some lift from that. We also saw some lift when we upgraded our Google. I'm forgetting the name of the schema, but adding the price and the ratings to our Google search
Yeah.
listing there on the search pages.
Yeah. Are
Start
you
seeing.
guys are you guys focusing on any technical aspects still of SEO, or are you just focused on strong content that
No.
will surpass the test of time?
Yeah, so we've done a few projects around technical stuff. Early on, we required full name for creating profiles. That was something that we saw sites like Facebook, for example, getting huge SEO boosts. Facebook's at the very top,
Yeah.
followed by Twitter, LinkedIn. Now if you search my name on Google, like after those three, it's like creative market.
Yeah.
So full names are a hot, everyone searches for people on Google, so that was a big win for us. The the other thing that we did is we created directories for our signed out homepage that that allows the bots to crawl basically every page on our site within 2 to 3 pages deep. Uh, so that was another kind of trick that we did. That is something that I want to clean up in the coming weeks, actually, because it's that those pages were designed for robots, and it was great. It was back when we were diversifying the different marketing channels. We just wanted to spend the least amount of time on a different project and move on to see where we're going to find a hit. I would love to go back to that one and actually make it human friendly, because right now it's very like just text. It's a bunch of
Yeah.
IDs. So I'd actually want to go back and make those actually, use user photos, or for the product directories, use all the product images. 'Cause it's
That should give you a
pretty
pretty
set
good
right now.
lift.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to see that. So, Zach, any advice on people that are just getting started with a content marketing strategy and creating original content? Because I know it can be a little daunting if if you're just starting off with this.
Yeah, so I mean, one thing I would say is that it's not a overnight success, and even so, we actually didn't see some serious love until like 8 to 10 months in. It was fall of last year when we really started to see a spike from Google. They flipped a switch somewhere along the lines.
Yeah,
It was really just believing in the content strategy, and we'd see those little gains compound month over month. We knew we were doing the right thing, and it was just what we had to do, because every site just needs to. There's a rule of thumb that I've heard along the way that if 50% of your traffic isn't coming from SEO, you're doing something wrong. So that was just something that I just felt like, there's all these different types of like growth hacks or whatever, and there's like, viral loop strategies, and I knew that that wasn't something that was going to work for an e-commerce site. You're not going to invite your friends to come shopping with you. You will, though, if you're starting a new project, you're going to go look for a specific asset, a specific font, something you're looking for along your creative process, and you're going to hit up Google to do that. And so my advice would be to just keep at it, and just believe that it's just part of the business that is a necessity, and along your way, it'll pay off.
yeah, I really like the strategy that you guys took because you guys solve a very searchable problem. So when people are looking to get that problem solved, there is a lot of variations that you can type into Google. So it makes
Yeah.
sense to really, put your head down in the content marketing strategy because I think overall in long term, it's going to be one that doesn't do that well at the beginning but pays dividends later on. Because once you get rolling on that, it really kind of just stays on, you know what I mean? And you can actually kind of taper back on the content marketing.
Yeah. I would say the other thing that I would advise too, and I've talked to a lot of SEO companies who are very like keyword driven, and very like deep into that world of just trying to build content around hot keywords. And I
Hmm.
feel like that's a bit of a sand trap. At the end of the day, you need to write really good, original, relevant, timely content. As long as you're producing really good stuff that people want to read and they love to share, it's going to pay off. If you're trying to get too tricky, a little too black hat, it's going to bite you. So
Yeah,
just
especially
beware of
long
doing too
term.
much of that stuff.
I totally agree. So Zach, a big audience, a big part of our audience is freelancers and people that are
Mhm.
kind of going pro and moving forward with their business. So how could they use Creative Market to grow their business a little bit more organically and a little bit more passively? Because it's tough actually running around always trying to get those new design jobs and photography, etc.
Well, they could produce content and make passive income while they're sleeping by selling with Creative Market. That's one. No, but Creative Market's a great resource for we're the solution to the blank canvas. So
Hmm.
before you start any new project, come check us out. We have all kinds of stuff from fonts to WordPress themes to icons to graphic sets. If anything, it's kind of an awesome source just for inspiration. So if you're kind of stuck and you're looking for where to go, um, we're an awesome community of really great designers who are doing really cool stuff. So yeah, I mean it's more than an e-commerce site. It's
Yeah, it
we have
definitely seems like a community.
we just rolled out a discussions board and it's pretty lively already and um, yeah.
Nice. Cool, man. Well, I appreciate having you on.
Yeah,
Um,
thanks for having me.
Yeah, and guys, if you're listening on the blog, thank you. Make sure you share it. If you guys are listening on the podcast, make sure you leave us a review and you share it as well. And thanks for everything, guys. We will talk to you soon.
Thanks everyone.